Hi, vacation rental owner or manager. This episode takes into account events surrounding Charlie Kirk's death and how, in the STR industry, we have convictions and we have responsibilities, and STR decorating does play into it. Listen in. Hi, vacation rental owner. Welcome to Step Up Your STR, the show all about decorating your vacation rental so that it can make max revenue. This is episode 50, a milestone that I'm deeply grateful to reach with all of you. I had planned this episode originally as celebrating everything golden in the STR world, a golden 50th anniversary. But with Charlie Kirk's murder and events of the past few weeks, this moment feels heavier than, it's not appropriate to celebrate a golden 50th milestone, I feel. Also, I wish I could have recorded it a week or two ago. It's just that I have been up to my neck with decorating and installing homes near me, near where I live, as an STR designer for, the clients I serve. So it's coming later than I want, but I still, it's really affected me. I feel responsible to speak on this. I live in Utah, only about a 45-minute drive away from where Charlie was killed. And as a podcast host, and also as a citizen, an entrepreneur, and as someone who believes in free markets, free speech, and responsibility that comes with influence, I feel that I should say at least a few words, as big or small, as, even though my influence might be small. So we all know that tragic news. Charlie Kirk, co-founder and leader of Turning Point USA, was fatally shot on September 10th, 2025 at a campus event in Orem, Utah. He had a really bold voice in conservative circles, particularly among youth, among college-age children or kids. I call them children because my kids are college age and I still feel like they're children. They're adults, college age, young people. Charlie challenged norms. He energized a generation of conservative and liberal youth. And like all leaders who dare to speak the truth as they see it, that carried risks, the violence against him and the voices that celebrate violence against ideas they don't agree with, that's a tragedy, and responsibility can't be ignored. This episode might not be very organized, but it's just, I'm going to try to, distill some of my thoughts on the lessons that we might learn from Charlie Kirk's life and untimely death, and how freedom of speech, political engagement, and responsibility show up in capitalism, property rights, and in the world of STRs, including defending your business against unfair practices by platforms like Airbnb, but we'll get into that later. So Charlie was many things: a visionary organizer, a bold communicator, someone who would talk with anyone, and he didn't shy away from controversy. He started Turning Point USA at just 18 and built it into a national force in conservative youth politics. He really had deep conviction about his work. His legacy is not just a lesson for politics, but for all of us who operate businesses, who might have influence in our communities, and those of us who want to defend freedom. This includes STR owners. So I feel that free speech is under pressure. I'm sure you've noticed it too, because online conversations feel more heated than ever. Tragedies like what happened to Charlie, when that happens, there's a natural urge to say, well, maybe we should limit speech in order to keep people safe. I think that's a slippery slope because we risk losing freedom completely when we react in fear. When words make someone else turn violent, I shouldn't make someone else. When somebody chooses to be violent in response to words, that hurts more than an individual. It hurts democracy itself. Violence can shut down debate because it makes people afraid to speak. And that's why responsibility and how we communicate and in how we respond to communication, it matters so much. I think in general, we can use our voices well if we will speak truthfully but thoughtfully, stand firm in our beliefs, and don't tear other people down. Don't say they're like Hitler. Also, remember the reach of platforms that we're on. Every post, every comment and review matters. When you see extremism in your own circles and name calling, be brave. Be the one to say that that is not okay. Defend freedom. And I think it's important also to insist on ethics. Okay, let's bring this into the STR world. STRs exist because of entrepreneurial freedom, from property rights, innovation, and market opportunity. STR ownership is risk and reward in action. You invest, you innovate, and you serve a market. And STRs create wealth for homeowners, for local service providers, and even for the economy of the whole town. But threats to STR freedom are real. There's regulations. Some cities impose heavy restrictions and limit property owners' ability to have any profit, have any say in what they do with their property. There's also public perception, misinformation, lying about how the economy around an STR works, and also bad behavior from one host can kind of ruin it for everyone. It can spark opposition for everyone. Also, there are housing concerns. STRs can reduce stock for people who need a place to live, and that does draw criticism. Now, like free speech, STR freedom depends on boldness and responsibility. A really practical way that this shows up for STR owners is dealing with platform overreach. Oh boy. Airbnb, Vrbo, and others control bookings, payouts, disputes, and control visibility. When policies like theirs feel unfair or arbitrary or only benefit them, it puts your entire business at risk. Here's how to protect yourself from everything that I've seen in the STR world. Number one, diversify channels. Build direct booking options for your properties. Have an email list where you can reach out to those that you influence and have a repeat guest network. Airbnb as a platform should support your business, not define it. So definitely don't put all your eggs in the STR or in the Airbnb basket. Also know your rights and document everything. Keep screenshots, keep track of records and guest communications. I think it's also great to join host alliances that are local to you, STR associations, because that can really give collective power. Leverage public pressure. Organized advocacy, with that group that you're a part of, perhaps having an organized advocacy on social media can spark change in a positive direction. And explore alternatives. Tools like Hospitable or HostAway can give you more control. Defending your rights is part of standing for capitalism itself. Definitely do it responsibly. Use facts and solutions, not just noise. So here's a quick checklist of what responsible hosting looks like. Operate transparently and ethically. Follow the laws, collect taxes, and definitely be respectful to neighbors. Engage with your community and government. Show how you contribute positively. Never underestimate the power of a personal letter. If you will communicate in a personal way with government entities, that will go a long way in helping our industry. Also use data, occupancy data, revenue, contribution, local contributions. Facts speak louder than opinion when your rights as an STR owner come under attack. Definitely prepare legally, as I've kind of alluded to, know your rights and join advocacy groups. And also stand up to platforms. Definitely diversify bookings, document issues that arise, and use alternatives that might be available to you. Charlie Kirk's death reminds us that freedom, whether it's political, economic, personal, It's not guaranteed, but it comes when we balance convictions with responsibility. All right, as we mark this 50th episode, which is not what I had originally planned, but here's what I hope that you can take away. Stand with your convictions. Stand boldly for what you believe. Use your voice responsibility. Don't call people names. Charlie Kirk was called so many names. Don't, avoid those extremes. It's in poor taste. It doesn't help anybody out. Act locally and strategically. Definitely engage with communities and regulators and lawmakers. It goes a really long way when you communicate and when you do it in a personal way. Stand up to unfair practices, like with platforms like Airbnb. Definitely defend your rights with documentation and alliances. And then stay educated on what's going on. Charlie Kirk's life was bold, and his mission will continue for those who act, following his footsteps. STRs, entrepreneurship, and capitalism depend on freedom, accountability, conviction, responsibility, and we all can, and I believe we all should play a part in that. So let's commit to all of it, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. So in the next episode, I'll get back to a fun and golden side of our STR industry. Until then, thank you for listening, and I do look forward to talking again next time.